WWTD this week. I'm driving, so I'm not going to look at the camera too much. That would not be safe. We got a guy turning in front of me here. I don't want to hit him. You could go across a little faster. Thank you very little. Anyway, I got a topic this week I want to talk about. You know, I've been thinking about a couple things. We had a guy that listens to the show, left a review, and he said that I was a little whiny, and I made a little joke about it on one of the audio podcasts that I was going to work on my whininess. But then I was in Bend the other weekend, and I was walking into a restaurant with the couple that was with myself and my wife, and I was talking about back when I had my mortgage company, and the point in time where I basically one day was like, screw it, I'm firing everybody, I'm sick of their shit, I'm sick of managing these idiots. It just was not something that I was enjoying anymore. And I was basically discussing the challenges of being a business owner, right? And it was funny because at that same time that I was having this conversation, we were kind of walking to get seated at our table. And the gal who was seating us, normally they have a $10 an hour hostess that does that, but it was a weekday morning, and for whatever reason, maybe the hostess wasn't there. And so the owner of the restaurant, which it was an older gal, she looked like she felt very comfortable there. I thought, maybe that's her. But as we're walking to our seats, I'm telling the story about, the day that I basically decided that I was going to fire everybody and why I decided that. And the gal looks at me and she goes, "Oh, sounds just like my business." And it was kind of an interesting moment for me because at that point in time, I kind of put some things together. Number one is I've talked to a lot of people out there who really enjoy the show, and the reason why they enjoy it is because they hear some of the things that I talk about that are kind of the challenges, right? The challenges of this business, the challenges of being in business, and it resonates with them. And then I compare and contrast that with the review we got, and I'm not picking on this guy, it's just the reality of life. And, he talks about how I complain about some things, or whine a little bit about the challenges that we go through. And it really got me thinking about how life is interesting that way because, we all have different vantage points on life. And based on our vantage point, some things resonate with us and some things don't. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about, which is different than your traditional, rah-rah real estate podcast, trying to sell you into the dream and sell you hopium and all that stuff. I mean, I'm very aware of what my brand is that I put out there for you guys to, watch and listen to versus other guys. And I try and put out the real nature of what it is that you're going to go through if you stay in this business long enough. So, I talk about dealing with a-hole neighbors. I talk about the lawsuits that have happened over the years. I talk about all the challenges with subcontractors. I talk about the challenges with the city. I talk about the challenges with employees or, people that you hire to do things. All these things are the reality of this business. Obviously, it's called the Real Dealz Podcast. I try to keep it real. But I realized also that, some of you guys that are listening on the front end of this business that maybe haven't gone through a lot of these things aren't at a vantage point where some of those things can resonate with you. And that's fine, but now I get it, and I get why. I mean, I probably should have understood this sooner, but I get why it is that maybe sometimes the things that I talk about sound like whining or complaining or whatever, whereas other people saying those same things, they look at it as, oh my God, I'm going through that same crap. I had to deal with that same a-hole, and it really resonates with them. So if you hear me, what you think is whining or kind of bitching and moaning about things that we deal with, just remember that someday, if you stay with this business, you'll probably experience some of the same things that I experience. And at that point, it probably won't sound like whining or complaining. It'll sound like just what it is that we actually have to deal with in this business. Sort of like, for example, the people that we went on that trip to Bend with, I was telling them about basically we have the same neighbor, right? And the same neighbor to them is very nice and pleasant and whatever. But this neighbor is like the ringleader for, crucifixion of me every time we have to cut down a tree to build a new house. And so their vantage point with that person is that, oh, they seem pleasant. My vantage point is that they make it their mission in life to make my life hell every time we try and just improve the neighborhood. And so it's all about vantage points. And so hopefully that illustrates my point. But they don't see that person for who they really are because they're not at a vantage point where they have to. And so that's where probably a lot of you guys are in this business. you're just not far enough along yet to understand that you're going to go through some of these challenges, maybe not all of them, because we're a glutton for punishment here in Portland, but you'll go through some of the challenges that we have in this business that we go through on a daily basis, and it's a reality of the business. So anyway, I just figured I'd share that kind of a deeper thought with you. But if for whatever reason the things that I'm saying don't resonate and they sound like I'm just bitching and moaning or complaining about our challenges, just remember, someday you will go through some of those at a minimum, and maybe all of them, or maybe more. And at that point, you'll listen to the show and you'll be like, I get it. So anyway, that's this week's WWTD. As I always say, I may not walk on water, but I do walk on my own job sites. See you guys next week.